Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining today's online workshop, My 7 Steps to Writing Successful Grant Applications. So I want to commend you and congratulate you for taking the time out of your day. I know we're all busy business owners that to take an hour out to learn something new or to build on your skills you've already got is really important. So well done you. And I do hope over the next 45 minutes, you will learn something that will help you and your business or your organization to write successful grant applications. So let's make a start. This is being recorded. So hello to the people watching the recording or if you're on my YouTube channel. And I like to start this by saying I do love talking about grants. So the best thing to do if you're not sure about grants as you go through this online workshop is to get in touch, jump on a call, and we can work out where you're best placed and what the next steps are. So I just want to say that right from the start. I know that some of you who have registered for this online workshop have reached out to ask how we can work together, and there's opportunities nearing the end of this online workshop as well. So let's make a start. Any questions, please pop them into the chat. If you're watching this as a recording, please just flick me an email with any questions you might have. So who here is a bit small business owner? Pop up your hand or say yes in the chat or do the thumbs up. And who feels like they're already just too busy, got too much on, and can sometimes it'll feel a bit overwhelming or not knowing what to do next. So when it comes to grants can be really complicated. Grants are different for each business, each program, each project. And if it's something we're not aware of or don't have that knowledge of, it can just feel very overwhelming. And when we're already too busy, it just seems something that forever gets forgotten about, or we couldn't possibly add anything on to our already busy schedule. So that's why I'm here today. That's why you're here today, to learn how we can make that easier and a simpler process, and to give you a better understanding of what is involved. So most grants have, unfortunately, a short application period of sometimes as little as 4 weeks. And what do I mean by that? It'll get released today and then it'll be closed in 4 weeks' time. So we need to make sure that we have the best opportunity to complete that application, and that we're not planning for that as we're trying to write the application, as well as doing our business, as trying to do everything else as well. We already know that time and resources are scarce and limited, and we can't. Hang on a moment. Sorry about that. Back to what we're talking about, resources and time. So we already know that already too scarce and limited in small businesses. So we're wearing too many hats. And so we need to think about who's the best person to be looking at grants and funding and income streams, and how can we make the most of those opportunities that are out there for us. But I want to ask you this question: how much free money are you missing out on in grant opportunities? And you might be sitting there saying, well, Liz, that's why we're here today. And that's absolutely fine. But I know I've worked with clients and other businesses where they know that other businesses around them in their local area or in the same industry have got grants and they haven't. There's a whole host of reasons why they didn't get the grant, or they didn't even apply for them because they didn't know about it. But we want to be thinking about, not to spend too much time on this, but think, well, hold on a minute, up until this point, we've probably missed out on some grants, and now going forward, and we're going to apply for everything we possibly can within our strategy to make the most of those opportunities. So I'm Liz Fleming from the Grants Club. I am a grants coach and strategist who helps businesses and organizations to make the most of the opportunities that are out there when it comes to grants. I'm based in Australia. And I just want to make the grants process simple and easy and effective for your business. So my philosophy is, if there's a grant out there that you're eligible for, then we want to do our best to apply for it, and making sure that we're still running our businesses and doing everything else we need to do as well. So I do start this with a bit of a geeky admission that I do love writing grant applications. So I started out, I'm a chartered accountant. I've worked in corporate across a whole number of industries. I've done a few years in government agencies, and that's where it really opened my eyes to the fact that there are grants and money available, and so many people don't know about them. I'm really proud of my 85% success rate. And this is because I'm really upfront about working with each of my clients to make sure that your projects and plans are as strong as they can be, and also they align to the objectives of the grant program. So it's not just about writing about your own project, it's answering the right questions, answering in a way that's going to be beneficial, and make sure that we showcase our projects in the best possible light. So today, sit back, listen and learn. I hope you have your pen and paper ready. Grant applications are my thing, and allow me to work in my zone of genius. And that might be outsourcing it, that might just be learning some new skills so that you can continue to work within yours. That's why we're here today. But I do love this quote when it comes to grants, that nothing is more expensive than a missed opportunity. So again, we don't want to dwell on this, but we want to think, righto, we want to make the most of those opportunities in the future, and work out what we need to do to become what I call grants ready. And today I'm going to share with you my proven process of the 7 steps to writing successful grant applications. Now, I do just want to start this part of it by saying I am based in Australia, but this is general information when it comes to grants. It doesn't matter what country you're in, most grant applications and processes are very similar. Obviously, some of the specific information is related to Australia. If you are in the US or overseas, we can definitely still work together, but I don't focus on that specifically. So you're more than welcome to come and join and learn. This process is the exact process that I use with my clients. And you know what? I don't even think about it anymore. I just go boom, boom, boom. This is what I do. So let's go. So the first step is all about working out, what does being successful mean to me? And this is really in a business context as well, in terms of grants are all about growing and expanding and getting some bonus funds into your organization to either do that project, accelerate that project, buy that piece of equipment that's going to create efficiencies. There's got to be some purpose to it. So we've actually got to be thinking about, well, what is going to make our business more successful? What's going to make ourselves more successful? And what's going to help to be helpful and be greater good to more people, because we want benefits. At the end of the day, the governments or whoever are funding these grants are giving out that money. They're basically outsourcing their jobs because they're saying, well, actually, you're a better place to do these things. So we'll help you out, and we'll go from there. But to be successful, we need to be making sure if a grant program comes out, so we've already found one, we need to get all the information. So quite often there'll be a lot of documents released. There'll be guidelines, there'll be objectives, there'll be templates, there'll be past projects, there'll be questions, there'll be the application form, there'll be a whole lot of information that is released when the grant program is released. And we need to make sure we read through that criteria. Now, this has to be the first thing that you do, because we need to be making sure that, one, our business is eligible. So do we have the right structure? Do we have the right number of employees? Because there will be limits and caveats on who can apply. Then we also need to be reading the criteria of our project. So, you know, some grant programs have eligible funding up to, say, $20,000. We might have to match that funding. We might have to do the top up, but we might have a project that's actually $500,000 and go, well, actually, is this worth applying? And is this relevant for what we're trying to achieve? And at this point, we will draft our outline. We will think about, well, what is our project? What are we trying to do and how will we do it? And I always start with creating a Word document, which is normally the application form. And this also later on turns into a checklist of everything that needs to be done related to this grant application. Because remember, like I said at the start, we might only have 4 weeks, we might only have 3 weeks, we might only have 2. So we need to make sure we're super organized, super prepared, and we've got all that information at our fingertips right at the beginning, and making sure that we are absolutely sure that you are eligible to apply is so important, because we don't want to waste our time. I don't want to waste yours. I don't want to waste mine. So that is the number one thing that we need to do at the beginning. The next step is all about planning. And as I've already talked about, becoming grants ready is really important. Knowing what projects you might have in the pipeline, knowing what piece of equipment you might need, or what's your next staff member you're going to hire, all of those things, because we never know when these grant programs are going to be released. And so we need to be ready. So we're going to take that Word document and we're going to turn it into a numbered checklist of all the components required. And as you'll see at a further step, there sometimes can be so many documents that we might not necessarily have written down in our business. Yes, we'll have all the information at our fingertips and normally in our heads as small business owners. But this can also seem really overwhelming. And this is where working with someone like me can really take the stress out of it and just focus on what you need to do. Bringing your team together. So who is it that's going to work on this? Have you got internal staff? Do you need to get an outsourced resource? Can you do it yourself? Have you got time? Adding this on to everything else, is it going to be plausible that you're going to complete it within the time frame? And making sure that we've got all the components covered. It doesn't have to be me, but it is really important, and I can't stress this enough, that you do work with someone that has written grants before, but also not just someone that's written grants, someone that's had success. Grant writing is an absolute skill, and if someone is deemed as a professional grant writer, you want to know their success rates, because yes, they can make it easy, and also if there's no accountability in terms of whether you're successful or not, we want to make sure that we're putting our best foot forward so that we can get that money into our bank accounts. And always planning to submit 1 or 2 days before the deadline. So we know it's a competitive process. We know that there's going to be lots of other people applying. So basically we need to make sure that we have enough of a buffer to collect all the information that we need and not be stressing it at the last minute. These days, the grant applications have to be sent in via the portal. We have to have a login and a password. And if it closes off at 11:59 p.m, trust me, there's going to be no one around after 5 o'clock to help you. So we don't want to be trying to submit it at 11 p.m. Now, this is what we're going to talk about for the next step. What is it, our project that we're asking for money? And so often I have people come to me and say, Liz, I need a grant. I have a business and I need a grant. And my first question will always be, what for? So hopefully we've already done a little bit of this, but once we've got the grant there, we need to also be working out, well, how is this project going to happen? What is it that we're going to need? Quotes, actions, tasks, who's going to do what, who needs to be involved, and how is this project actually going to work? And does it fit within those guidelines of the grant? And thinking about what costs are involved. So there's always got to be a budget. Remember, we're normally getting money, funds, cash into our bank account. So we need to prove to them, one, what's our budget? What are we going to spend the money on? And also, how will we worked out what those costs are and the flow through of how that project is going to be executed. Step 4. Now, this is the biggest step and it's the most important, because this is where the jargon, the information can get really overwhelming, because sometimes they ask for a whole lot of supporting documents. Sometimes they ask for none. Sometimes they ask for specific ones. And sometimes they say, you can attach up to 10 documents that will support your application. So we need to get this bit right, and we need to make sure that we've got the right information that's going to give us the best chance of being successful. So we need to go back to those guidelines. What is required for those grant applications? And we would have already written in our Word document, and it would have been listed. So do we need letters of support? Now, what do I mean by this? These are letters of support from other organizations or businesses or community groups or partners that you're going to be working with, that are basically writing a letter of support, which we draft if you work with me, so we make it easy, to say, please support this project because this is going to benefit XYZ. And it just gives them that extra weight, and it also just demonstrates that we're not just doing this project just for our own selfish reasons. We're going to get the quotes, and I always recommend to get at least request 2 quotes, because remember, other small businesses are busy too, and they don't necessarily always get them back in a timely fashion. So again, creating that buffer, giving them a time frame, following up. This is where this work can be really time consuming and take a lot of time. And we need to make sure we get these, because otherwise we can't submit the application. With them being in the portal now, if we don't attach documents, we don't attach letters of support, we don't attach quotes, we won't be able to press submit, and it will be grayed out. So that will be really disappointing, getting right to the end and realizing, oh my God, we don't have everything we need. Financial reports. So here in Australia, any grant greater than $50,000 requires financial statements to be produced and to be attached to your application for at least the last 2 years. So making sure that whether you Xero or your spreadsheet or QuickBooks are up to date, so that we can just run that report and attach it to our grant application. And at this point, it really is about getting shit done. Working out, have we got everything that we need to support our application at our fingertips? Because the next step 5, is starting to write your application. So we've collated it all. We've got a pretty good idea of how our project is going to work. We know how much it's going to cost. We know who's going to be involved. We know how it's going to support. We've got those letters of support. We've done our project plan. We might have done our risk management plan. We might have done our marketing plan and some other templates as well that might be in there. And then we bring it all together. So I always like to have all of that at my fingertips before I have a real good crack at writing that draft application. So then we need to go back to the all-important guidelines, the program guidelines, and making sure that we are looking at the key criteria and making sure that we are answering those questions properly. And when it comes to the application form, we need to make sure that we're answering the question that is asked, not the question that we think is there. We also need to be checking the assessment weightings. And this is where they will say these 4 questions make up 20% of each of the final mark. So basically, it's like an exam where they are marking it, and the high scores will be successful and get the grants. We need to be checking the word or character limits, and these will also go into our Word document. So it's really important to be mindful of this, because nowadays, when we copy and paste it from the Word document into the portal, once we're happy with it, if there's 500 words and we've written too many, it'll chop it off. So, it'll chop it off mid-sentence, and that's not what we want. So this is why it's really important to get all this stuff pre-done and ready to go. Now, the next step is to add your why and your story. And what do I mean by this? I basically mean you need to use this opportunity to write in a persuasive way, and including why our project is the best project with the most impact and should be funded. Because ultimately, that's what we want. We want them to give us the big tick and approve it so that we can get on with our project. And we need to make sure we're including the benefits to the targeted audience. So basically going back, reading through those guidelines again, and making sure that we are encapsulating those buzzwords, the things that they keep talking about, into our answers as well. And now we're up to the last step, and it's always important to have someone else review and read through your application. Now, there's a couple of reasons for this. One, I always get my clients to review it because we want to make sure that it's factually correct, that they're agreeing to it, that that's what they want. It's the right outcome, it's the right budget, everything's correct. And also making sure that we're reading through for grammar, spelling mistakes, and doesn't make sense. And you can always think about who else can review it, someone that's got nothing to do with the project, and get them to talk back to you and tell you what the project is about and see whether they've got the main points. Because remember, the people that are going to be assessing these know absolutely nothing about your project or you or your business. So we need to be making sure that we are giving ourselves the best chance. Think of it like a job application or an assignment or a test or an exam. You get that one chance. So we need to make sure that it's perfect. Then we're going to press submit on our application. And this is always a bit nerve-wracking, and it's even nerve-wracking for me still. But that's why we don't want to leave it to the last minute and stuff it up. We want to have a bit of a breather space, be a bit more relaxed. When we're pressing submit, we've read through it all, we've double-checked it all, and we're good to go. And, I'm not going to underestimate how much work is involved in a grant application, but with the right help and the right people, it can be streamlined and it can be a reasonably simple process if you follow the 7 steps that I've talked about today. But we also need to make sure we take time to celebrate what we've just achieved in getting that application out there and the opportunities that could create. And then also reflecting on the process, because I can assure you there will be questions and answers that you've had to come up with for this grant application that you've never considered in your business before. And we create a resource. We create a resource for your business that you can go on to use some of those explanations and answers on your website, on your social media, for your next grant application. So nothing is ever wasted, but we also want to acknowledge that it is a big process. So there we have it, folks, the 7 steps to writing successful grant applications. Now, this is the proven process that I use with my clients. For those of you that are online, and if you are watching the recording, feel free to email this through to me too, because I love seeing what people's takeaways were from what I've shared with you today. So if you can just pop into the chat what the takeaway was from today, something you learned, something you didn't know, something you weren't sure about and it's just cemented it, something that was a bit surprising. Pop that into the chat. I'd love to have you share that, to know what resonates and where people are getting stuck when it comes to grant applications. I find the most common response when I ask this question is that they are surprised that it's not till step 5 that we start writing. And time again, people are just wanting to see the application, think, yep, cool, I think I'm eligible, and I'm just going to start writing. And then they get either close to the deadline, or they've missed some other things, or they have not got the quotes, or just ran out of time, or focused on one question and not the other question, not seeing it as a whole project, and also not being clear about what project they even want the funding for. So there's a whole heap of things that come out of that. So I hope everybody learned something. So I write grant applications for a whole host of clients. It doesn't matter what industry they're in, what their project is, or what they're wanting funding help with. These ones here are some of the businesses that I have helped in the past. So I want you to think about what is the difference between these businesses that have been successful in getting grants and your own business or organization. So I know some of you are on committees, not-for-profits, community groups. We all have grants that are eligible for those types of organizations, and we just want to be ready to go when they do come out. Just want to share with you a couple of happy clients who got some considerable grants here in Australia that really did help them grow their businesses in a phenomenal way. It just accelerated their growth. It allowed them to focus on other things in their business. They became more efficient, and also things that they just thought would never be able to be achieved in their business. So Kim and Matt have a Rethink Recycling co-op. They got a $59,000 grant, and I was speaking to them last week. Their trailer to go around schools to educate around recycling and plastics is nearing completion. So that's really, really exciting. Ben and Jessie got $27,000 worth of grants to basically take their side hustle business into a full-time business. So that was super exciting for them, and just something that they always dreamed of and had planned for about 5 years' time. And so that just accelerated their growth for them. And Sarah and James from Designer Cabinetry, beautiful clients of mine, got a $107,000 grant for a machine in their business, their cabinetry business, that basically took the measuring down from and the production down from 4 days to about half a day. So it just meant that they could increase their volume that they were producing, and they had a massive waiting list of clients who wanted brand new kitchens. And when this new router machine was installed, they could go back to them and say, hey, yes, the wait is much less. So you can just see how grants can absolutely be game changers for businesses and organizations alike. So now I'm just going to talk a little bit about how I can help you and your business to grow and expand with business grants. So in Australia, over the last little while, there's been a number of grants, and there were always grants out there at any given one time. So at the moment, there's more than 1,500 grants available in Australia. But that does not mean that they are all eligible and applicable to you, whether you be your business or your organization. So this is why it's all a bit of a minefield, and there's a lot of people out there saying, oh, there's heaps of grants out there. Well, you know, and I have that said to me all the time. I'm like, okay, let's go and find one, or you show me the one you mean, and then we might read the nitty gritty of the eligibility criteria, and I'm like, well, this is a grant that's for a local area from a council, or it's in a different state, or oh no, you're not the right industry, you haven't been in business for long enough. So this is why it's really, really important to make sure that upfront checking that eligibility and making sure that we're absolutely able to apply, so that we're not wasting our time. And as you can see here, there's some wage subsidies, there's small business rebate for some health and safety gear, there's ventilation programs, there's equipment, there's business support, there's grants for so much different stuff that we do need to be looking in the right places for grants. And then we also need to be ready to apply when we do find them as well. So I'm just going to share some really common questions with you, or some answers. We can absolutely write grants for you and with you. It's really important that when we're applying for grants, that the projects that we're applying for are in alignment with the rest of our business strategy. So if you don't have a business plan, I do encourage you to think about writing one yourself, or engaging someone like me to do that business plan, so that you can just be really clear and efficient about what you are applying for and where you want to, the areas you want to grow and expand your business, and also where it's going to give you the best rate of return as well. What's my success rate? I'm really proud to say that I have an 85% success rate helping businesses to get those grants. How do I know what I need a grant for? Now, this is kind of the tricky thing. And this comes back to having a business plan, having a growth strategy, knowing those projects that are in the pipeline and how they're coming up, and then knowing where to search for grants as well. So what's next? And I know a few of you have asked about working together, or how can we become grants ready, or how can we get on that road to having the right strategy in place so that we can be efficient about what we're doing. So I've created a quiz called Are You Grants Ready Quiz. You can take that, the link is in the chat, and see if you're ready for grants, because there are a few things that we need to make sure that we do have in place before we even start looking for grants. So I love that quiz. But the best thing to do if you're in Australia is to jump online and book in a 20-minute chat with me. In the chat, the links are just there. I'll post them again. So there's one there for 20-minute chat with me. Book in a time, jump on a phone call, and you can tell me about your business, where you're at, and work out what's the next step we need to take. Now, this will be the very last time that I offer this strategy session at this price. It is a new financial year, but if you do want a strategy session, it's a 3-hour session where we basically go through your business and growth strategy for your business organization and work out where we can go. And that'll also bring in my knowledge about what grant programs regularly come up, what kind of areas, what's the key focuses at the moment from the governments, and go from there. So if you're interested in that, please email me. My email is liz@grantsclub.com.au, and again is in the chat or on the show notes. But the best thing to do is to book in that 20-minute chat, and then we can work out where's the best thing to go. You might have a grant that you want to apply for right now. And as we've said, we don't have heaps of time, so do get in touch and we can work out the best way forward. Now, at the moment, we know that times are pretty tough. Interest rates are going up, inflation, there's all a bit in doom and gloom if you watch the media, but we need to be making sure that our strategies within our business are still in that growth trajectory. And I am running a free webinar on the 26th of July called From Surviving to Thriving, Strategies to Become a Recession-Proof Business. And what I'm going to talk about is having a strategy, having your funding strategy, knowing where your income's going to come, because we can't just rely on customers, we can't just rely on grants. We need to have a combination that is going to work. So if you do want to register for that, the link is in the chat for that as well. No, it's not. Email me and I'll send you the link, or look up Eventbrite. It is on there, but it's free. There's 3 instances, 10 o'clock, 1 o'clock, or 6 o'clock. I'd love to see you there. Or you can join my Grants Club VIP membership. So this is the absolute ultimate outsourcing of your grant searching and strategy to us. And I created this because I had a lot of inquiries where people were time poor, they were growing their businesses, they wanted to know about grants, and they wanted help. So basically, let us do the searching for you, all the hard work, and helping with you, working with you to help you develop your strategy that's going to set you up for success. So we match you with grants to grow and expand your business. We share our proven process on how to write grant applications as well. So as we are doing here, we have masterclasses each quarter. And we also provide you with special discounts to get your grant applications written by me. And we can also assist you and your business to become grants ready. So I'm really proud to say that we have a 12-month calendar with scheduled events, signature programs. There is a private Facebook group where you can learn and ask questions, and I share grants tips in there as well, but also be surrounded by other like-minded businesses that are growing and also outsourcing their grants. And we have personalized strategy calls with me to get you started to really think about what is it that you're doing in your business. And lately, these have been game changers because people have not taken that strategic review of their business. So we've talked through what they're doing, and then I'm thinking, well, okay, there's these potential grant programs of this area, how could that apply to your business? And we've developed whole new strategies and different income and streams as well. So that is $3,000 for the year. Think of it like an outsourcing. I'm part of your team. We are looking for grants for you, or a monthly payment of $300. So at the moment, if you're not looking for grants, back to that original question of how many opportunities are you missing out on? Here's your way to outsource it to make sure that you're in the know when grants do become available. I've also got my free Grants Club community where anyone can join and be part of that. And in that, I do share some tips and tricks about grants. And just, if you want to connect with me, you can ask questions in there. Jump onto the QR code and join that. That is on Facebook. So today's webinar offer, there's a few offers in there. Let's get started today. We all love action takers. Jump onto my website, see what you think you need. But if you're not sure, please just book in for a 20-minute call with me and we can go from there. That is a great starting point. And back to my favorite quote, nothing is more expensive than a missed opportunity. So I just want to leave you with that. And think about, well, what kind of opportunities could there be for you, your business, and your organization? Just want to say a huge thank you for joining today. Please do keep in touch. Jump onto my website and email me, or we are on socials. Follow along on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and all the recordings for these workshops are also on our YouTube channel. So plenty of ways to get in touch. And I hope you found today's workshop valuable, and I'll see you soon.